Hello, everyone. It's Sam and Fee, and we're back for another midweek musings.
Hello.
How are you doing, Fee?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Bit up and down as usual, but kind of yeah, getting there, I've been a bit more spiritually disciplined, shall we say, for the last few days. It's definitely having an effect, a positive effect. So yes, yeah. You?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say pretty much the same with the whole up and down thing. I have
Mm.
moments of like, it's all going to be okay, everything's good, and then moments where you're just like, oh my God, it's all terrible. But
Yeah,
yeah, hanging in there like the rest of us, I think.
yeah,
Just
good. We're
keeping on.
still here. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got quite an interesting and probably quite what's the word? It's not difficult. I can't think of the right way to put it, but what we wanted to talk about today was a post you put out yesterday,
Mm.
which was an apology notice on a shop. Was it in Melbourne?
It was. I think it's a cafe in Melbourne, from what I can gather. Yeah.
Which was an apology to the unvaccinated, a
And
little
the
sign.
vax coerced as well.
Yes,
Mm.
that you can see that if you go to the stand in the main
Mm.
Facebook page, you'll be able to see it if you've not seen it and you don't know what we're referring to. And it prompted us to kind of have a little think about the issue of forgiveness. And I know it's something with that everybody's in a very different kind of place on this issue, and we kind of thought it would be quite a good topic to kind of talk about, because obviously where we are at the moment is that every week there seems to be something else coming out that is basically like, yeah, you were right, and there's this whole amnesty idea being purported in
Mm.
various newspapers. Well, oh, let's have an amnesty, we didn't know. Um and yes, just we all need to forgive each other.
Mm.
Um and it is a difficult one, and obviously we're going to have a little bit of a chat about where
Mm.
we stand on that and how we feel about it. But obviously, there's no judgment from us for anyone. It's a very difficult issue, and it kind of sits differently with all of us. But obviously we're moving through these times, and I think it's quite relevant right now
Mm.
to kind of discuss where we're at and how we do move forward as a collective. And as do we continue the division? Do we kind of move together in unity? Can we forgive?
Mm.
um I mean, the issue of forgiveness and forgetting is two very different ones completely.
They're
And obviously,
very, yeah.
um as we were talking this morning, there are different levels of
Mm.
wrongdoing, and different kind of groups of people, and whether or not those can be forgiven is yeah, it's a bit of a grey area, isn't it, Fee?
Very thorny issue. I knew actually when I was putting the post out that, oh, this is going to set the cat amongst the pigeons for some people because yeah, like you say, there are everyone's at different sort of places with all of this, and also um, there are very different um, levels of, like, when we're talking about this pandemic amnesty, which I have been very, very clear on. From my point of view, you on your bike, you must be joking, because we're talking about people who absolutely knew, have been pushing the propaganda, are actually part of this whole agenda rolling out, that have been playing their role. And now it's that kind of the backpedaling and, we didn't know. That's a totally different thing, where people, it's all about the intention. So I'm not talking about them, that lot can go to hell.
Oh, I
quite
totally agree.
frankly.
I
That's,
totally agree.
that's not even for me, that's not a question. What I'm talking about is the people that, the kind of, the everyday people that have gone along and gone along and gone along while we have been, woohoo, look, this is what's happening, this is what's going on from day one. And no, they've just been absolutely swept along, brainwashed. And now, and it is frustrating that it's often, because the mainstream media is now saying that the jabs don't prevent transmission, the jabs don't prevent blah blah blah, ad nauseum. It's frustrating, I do get that.
It's not just the jabs though, as well,
But
is it? I mean,
it's
we're hearing all the time now,
all kinds of,
lockdowns may have
yeah,
actually caused more harm than any lives they purported to save. And
yeah,
the tests are unreliable. And
yeah,
the masks didn't work. And
yeah,
actually, now the economy's collapsed, the NHS is under, all of this stuff,
yeah. It's
everything
reams of
we
it.
have said for the last 2 years is that, and people are going, oh.
I
When
know.
we said that a couple of years ago, you're selfish, you're COVID idiots, you're
Yeah,
this, you're
yeah.
that,
Which
you're
is what
terrible, terrible
makes this,
people.
which is what makes this so difficult. That's why it's such a thorny issue. So many people just thought, well, it's too little, too late. I get that. I do understand that sentiment completely. But when we're looking at this whole situation from a bit of a broader perspective, at what point we there's something very stagnant about remaining in this place of blame and recrimination, and just, anger. It's how long can you stay in that point? There's no movement there. So for me personally, for those that are coming forward now and genuinely holding their hands up and saying, my God, I wish I'd known, I don't know why I didn't, blah blah, there are a million reasons that people have got that we'll never fathom, because we are not the same. And that's something important in all of this. We just seem to be a very different breed of people, so we can't put ourselves into that position, that level of ignorance. It's just, you can't even imagine it, but it exists. We've seen it. It has been this mass hypnotism that we've been immune to, and all of these other people haven't. But thankfully, people, whether it is just because of the mainstream starting to leak these things out, that they've woken up, and realized, or they've been, a lot of other people actually have been questioning this before then, and thinking, hang on a minute, and starting to look into other things. When people are saying, I'm so sorry, I was totally wrong, I just didn't know, it just wasn't going in, whatever, I just question the use of no, no, and it's just stopped right there. It's just, it's a very it is a very, very thorny issue. And I don't blame anyone for having those feelings, and especially like for those of us that have been really targeted, and when you've had family members that have taken against you in ways that you could never have imagined. It's deeply, deeply personal, and it's your own process. So I would never tell anybody, oh, well, you should. Not at all. I'm just questioning, okay, there's so much anger, and rightfully so, because we've seen this come, we've tried our damnedest to warn people, and met with this huge wall of resistance. And so the temptation is to be, I told you so, and to hold them in that place. But very often it's ourselves that we're trapping in that, because when you're the one that's holding on, and you can feel it, it's just this horrible, uncomfortable frustrating, angry feeling. Who's the one actually suffering there? And I think also, just quickly, seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding about what forgiveness actually is. It does not mean condoning anything or approving of it or going, oh wow, it doesn't matter. Yeah, just that's not it at all. It's actually something powerful that the person forgiving does actually for themselves, because you could forgive someone if you know, whatever it is, but if the person that you're forgiving hasn't forgiven themselves, it makes no odds. It's you that you're actually setting free, and then you've got that movement again. You're not locked into that, well, it's their fault, this, that, the other. It's like, right, here we are, what now?
Yeah. Yeah, I am one of those people. I had close family member kind of disown me for a little while during all of this. Wanted nothing to do with me. Obviously that hurts a lot. And I think I think for many of us, the hardest obstacle to kind of overcome is that actually we are deeply hurt. Everything we've done over the last 2.5 years has come from a place of love and a place of care, and is very much, it's been thrown back in our faces, and I think the reluctance to forgive does come, in many ways, from the wounded child within us, of but we were just trying to help, you know um and I think it's very, very difficult to understand when we saw it so clearly, the impact of everything that's going to that was happening, to say, but this is going to be the impact, this is what it's going to do. And to now sit here 2.5 years later with it all going, oh well, it turns out they were right, it's kind of, we can't understand how they didn't see, or why, when we're sat there. And I'm sure many of us have done our utmost in terms of sending, papers, sending, really kind of factual, evidence-based stuff to the people we care about, or just putting it out there, and to have these people go, no, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm not listening, is a very, very difficult thing. So how can you not know? Why are you not listening to me? And I think, you do kind of need to, I come at it from quite a, so I studied, my cat.
Gone.
Yeah, that was my cat walking across
You're
my
back.
computer. So I studied psychology at university. It's always been a big passion of mine. And I come back very, very often to kind of, the effect of how we've grown up, and how the world has impacted us, and that there are so many people that there was just this inability to see. And it is only now the mainstream media are telling them that actually, these people were right. We have done tremendous harm to ourselves, to our society, to our economy, to all of these things, that people are going, hey. And there is this mass formation theory,
which is
that is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And I think, we have all at some point in our lives been, swept up and not been aware of what we've been a part of. We spoke about this earlier. There are many of us that haven't been awake, our whole lives, and before that, we've gone along with things without questioning it, without realizing. I know I've had people in my life that have told me things, and I've gone, you're crazy, and kind of dismissed it. And I think, we've got to kind of look at ourselves and each other and realize that, there are a lot of really powerful psychological things at play, and that actually, kind of blaming, your average Joe for continuing to trust in all of the systems, in all of the, institutions that we've grown up believing are telling us the truth and there for our benefit. The fact that they continue to hold that faith in them, is not really that surprising, to
Mm.
be honest with you.
It's more
And yes,
surprising that there are so many that are awake, have been awake,
yeah,
which again, that's the human spirit for you. That's something that's beyond all of this. But yeah, it's that getting stuck in that place of blame. Look, anyone that's there for a while, don't blame you. I have been, as many people will know, when I've been ranting, and we've all been there. But you have to look at what purpose does it serve in the long run, because the fact remains, shitloads of people were absolutely brainwashed, and we will never understand how, because we've just not been subject to that hypnosis. It hasn't worked on us for whatever reason. And again, this is not the same as people that have absolutely known, all the institutions. I said this was going to happen, that something this huge could never actually be hidden. It's just not possible. You can't have a mass population cull and just disguise it as this or that. Humans aren't that thick, no matter what they think. And so it was always going to be coming, but it would be, oh my goodness me, well, we didn't know this, and then the excuses and so on. That's not who we're talking about. It's the other people that live amongst us, who, and we all know lovely people that you've just been, oh God, as they've queued up for the next one, or they've been out there clapping for the NHS, all of these different things. We know that these aren't bad people. They have just been subjected to this level of psychological coercion that we can't quite grasp. And the ones that now, there are some very, very toxic people, who absolutely, even when they're faced with all the facts, will not have it, because their pride is so strong, and they're just not good people. So you don't have to worry about those. It's just that's when this sort of, the notion of forgiveness is on a much, much grander scale. So forget personal, like it's people that in particular, and it's a personal thing. But it's more of that radical acceptance thing, where you're like, do you know what, people like that exist in the world. I'm going to leave them with all their toxicity. I'm not carrying it with me. And that's forgiveness. Actually, you're letting it go. It's not, forgiveness isn't this weak, subservient, backing down. That's not what true forgiveness is at all. And I think that's why things get a bit confused, and people get a bit antsy about the whole, well, why should I, why, as if you're letting anybody off the hook. It's not about that. It's, you're letting yourself out of that holding space of rage, and because it just feeds itself, and actually in the end you're the only one that's being harmed by it. That's the kind of forgiveness that I'm talking about. And there's that movement in it, when you can move past, and also that this is, let these people ask themselves the question, why didn't I know? Why did these people know and I didn't? That's their journey then. That's going to open up a whole load of stuff, isn't it? Where they're actually, my God, why was I going along with this? That's theirs. It's not for us to keep endlessly, why, when they don't actually know themselves.
But I think for me, I mean, I have let go in many ways, forgiven the masses of regular people who kind of got swept up along with it. I've kind of come to terms with, I mean, I know, don't get me wrong, I know none of this would have happened without the compliance of the people. And I think that's the hardest thing, really, is that actually the powers that be, or should not be, whatever, they can make all the rules and diktats that they like.
Yeah.
But if people don't go along with it, if people aren't, supporting that, then actually it doesn't happen. So the only thing that did enable the last 2.5 years to happen, and the devastation that we've seen and are continuing to see in its wake, is the compliance of the people. And I get it. I get it. But in many ways, I've kind of let that go. And in terms of, the people that are very close to me, I've not received apologies yet. That's not really happened. And to be honest, I'm not kind of holding my breath for that. But in terms of what you're saying, it is a kind of personal thing. You can't hold that against people forever. Tying yourself in knots over the idea of, why didn't you know? Why didn't you listen to me? How could you treat me like that? You were supposed to love me or care about me. We've had years of friendship, and you're treating me like this. It's horrible. Yes, it's horrible. But I think that we do need to come to a point, kind of as a collective, where it is a case of, okay, I think the biggest thing for me is that if they recognize that they were swept up in life, if they can, look back and identify, yes, I was a sucker for government propaganda, and they can kind of see that, for me, that means there's hope for the future. And that's kind of where I'm looking, is because we all know that this isn't the last we've seen or heard of government propaganda to manipulate us into a response and a way of behaving. We know this is going to happen again. So for me, the biggest part, and if someone holds their hands up and recognizes how they got swept along and how that has contributed, and can apologize for that, I say fair play. You kind of have to forget, because actually you've got to kind of look to the future and kind of think, well, what we do need is for people to acknowledge the lengths that our governments have gone to, the lies that have been told, and the way in which we've been manipulated, so that when they do it again, there's this thing in their mind that won't go along with it as unquestioningly as they did, and that next time, hopefully, they will be more inclined to listen to other views and kind of take a more critical thought process towards it. And I think that's very much where I kind of come from, is what's done is done. And yes, it was terrible, and I will not forget. And I will not stop kind of pushing for accountability and justice, and I won't, shut up about it. People are like, oh, COVID's over. No, all this has happened, and there's no justice, no accountability. It will continue. So that's not the issue. But in terms of kind of moving forward, I do think there needs to be a kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like the hippie in me, but like just a great big group hug of just like,
and it is like there's been a collective madness, really, and it was very cultish, the whole thing. And when you look at the way people have been conditioned and programmed all their lives to be drawn to people want to fit in, a lot of us, I've noticed, that have been awake to this from the start, or woke up very quickly to this, or been involved in freedom movement, way before this, very much sort of outsiders in a sense. We've never really fitted in the same way, even if we've been able to fake it and put on a bit of a, oh yeah, we're one of the gang. We've never really been those people who have been overly worried about what others think of us. And most people, the way that society's been set up, and it's been instilled in us, is you must be one of the herd. You must be.
But then again, it is something in the human condition, is our need to have community, and it is our kind of need to be,
that's what they play on, exactly,
others. But obviously it's been manufactured in such a way that many people are able to kind of just push down their own beliefs, their own thoughts, their own feelings, and just be able to go, obviously we can't do that. We are the black sheep.
Yeah, that exactly. We are the black sheep. So for us to try and imagine what it's like to be a white sheep, you can kind of like try and think about it, but because it's so alien to us, like I said, you know, you can go round and round forever. Why couldn't they see what? I don't think we'll ever understand that. I don't think it's possible. And at some point, it's like, what is the point of asking that over and over again? This is where we are. That is what's happened. That is how it's been. So what now? And also, you know, they love us to be divided. They love it, you know, any way they can get it. So if we're at each other's throats still going, you should have fucking known, you know, yes, we think they should have done, but it just perpetuates that whole thing. I think what we need really is to see, like, beneath all of that kind of superficial, and really recognize who our brothers and sisters are, even when they've made terrible mistakes. Like, we've all made mistakes in our lives, some worse than others, and none of us is blameless, you know. I think if you can kind of tune into that and see beyond these things that seem to splinter us, we've got very definite enemies. Recognize the difference between people that have really, they've fucked up, they've been sucked in, they've gone along with stuff, they've been a victim to their conditioning. And then you've got the ones who are controlling all of this, who absolutely know. They are the ones, when they're saying, oh, we didn't know. And you'll notice, actually, there's never actually an apology.
No,
There's
yes,
never,
I've
oh, we're
noticed.
so, which could come. They might fake, but you know, we know. But there's never an actual apology. It's, we didn't know the facts. We didn't. And that's what makes me angry. That's what really gets me, because these are the very people who deliberately, intentionally, with full knowledge of what they were doing, squashed the truth. They knew it was the truth. So
And
all
they
those
poured
doctors,
fuel on the
scientists,
fire
they
of the
absolutely,
segregation and the
all of
mistreatment
it.
and the wishing of death
Yes.
on their fellow human beings. I just think,
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever a point where it is justified to wish death on another section of your fellow man.
Yeah.
And these people did it. And
Yeah.
stoked the flames of you know, this division, and
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
those for me are,
There's no sorry from them. There's no apology from them, because they're, well, they're not, they don't, they, it would not be meaningful at any point. This is a totally different thing. It's like, you know, the government, you know, maybe some lower down MPs that are more like us.
I don't know, my local
But
MP is
oh,
horrendous.
I
I
know,
mean,
I've heard
there
of
are loads
some
of
good
us
ones, but
that have repeatedly sent
oh
her
yeah, same.
information,
Yeah,
and she just
yeah.
ignores it, parrots back the Tory party line,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
it's, you know, so you know, those people, the people with some semblance of power to be able to influence,
Mm.
for them to not pay attention to anything, and to then claim, oh, I didn't know. Well, no, I'm
No,
sorry.
that's not an apology. Oh, well, I didn't know. That's justifying. So that again, that's not, when I posted that out, because it did specifically say we were wrong. We were wrong to exclude you. There's that admittance of having got it wrong. I mean, of course, it could have gone into a lot more detail. It could have been a lot better. A lot of apologies could, but still, you know, there's that kind of willing to hold up your hands and take the flack that comes your way. And I just think, as we've been, you know, when we're out protesting, and when we're really speaking out, it's been for these other people. We can't forget that either. it's not just been for us, it's been for, yeah, our fellow human brothers and sisters. It's been that, and so we can't really be, well, you but not you, maybe you, you know, and we've awakened this, there's the great awakening, and but if you weren't in the first few thousand, no, you've woken up too late, you're not one of us, you know. It's just, but again, it's a very personal thing, and you can't fake it either. It is something you have to work on when you're really triggered by, oh, you know, it's just this, the frustration is just off the charts. But again, if you want to get beyond and be able to see a future, then being absolutely stuck and rooted in, it's you, it's your fault, and now we're in this, but you're not going anywhere.
No, and I think you know, it does come down again to energy, and we've only got so much energy, and obviously while we're fighting each other, we're not fighting them. And
Yes.
I do think, you know, there are things that are more important than you know, whether someone, you know, said something and did something. I think for me, you know, the energy I have at the minute is incredibly limited, and I don't really have the energy to be focused on what choices people have made. I'm kind of more interested in what choices they will make now and in the future, um, because we still have, you know, that we still have so much to do. There is still so much going on, that we do need to fight against. There is still so much that needs to be built, and I think that for me anyway, you know, what little energy I have needs to be on that stuff, rather than, you know, fighting battles with people in my life and the people around me. I personally am much more inclined to, you know, and accept an apology and kind of, you know, hope that more people are kind of, you know, waking up to what's been done to them. And I do think, you know, in many ways it has been done to them. We can
Yeah.
argue about whose responsibility it is, but it's something that's been done to them. And yeah, for me,
Yeah.
it is an
Yeah.
energy choice. Where do you put your energy? Do you
Exactly
put your
that.
energy
Yeah.
on worrying and fighting and arguing and blaming your fellow human beings, or
Yeah.
do you use
That's
it
it.
in trying to save and build a new world? You know, because I don't know about anyone else, but I don't have the energy to do it all.
No, and you know, if there will be people
It's
that
get off
have
that.
just, you can still also forgive or let go without having to welcome someone back who's treated you absolutely appalling, and you just cannot ever trust them again, even if they're apologizing. It's just,
Yeah.
no, you, that's fair enough, that's fine, but to just leave it with them,
Yeah.
leave that
I
with
mean, I
them.
think there are relationships that will never be the same again.
Oh, absolutely.
And I,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think any amount of hand holding up and
No.
apologizing and whatever is going
Mm,
to fix or make better,
no.
you know, some of the things that some of us have experienced.
Yeah,
But I think, you know, there
exactly.
does come a time where you have to stop torturing yourself and other people, and kind of draw a line, and where do we go from here, and try and rebuild some semblance of a relationship, or just let go of that relationship.
Yeah,
There does need to be.
it's the acceptance again, isn't it? Otherwise you're stuck in that wishing things were different, and that's a real trap. Again, it's that you're stuck then. You're just locked into it and you can't see beyond. Um it's yeah, it's not an easy thing. that any of us faces really with this. And yeah, there were absolutely shades of grey within all of this. But again, yeah, like you say, it is all energy. And also when you're more rooted in your sense of personal power, you're not going to be so swayed by what everyone else has done or hasn't done or is doing or isn't doing. It's you're always you've got that safety and security in yourself, which is important as well. But yeah, it's it's a big one. It's a big
It
one, and
is a
there's
big one, and I don't think either of us proclaim to sit here and have the answers, or to say this is
no.
what you should do.
Mm-mm.
It's really not, and it's a very complex issue, and it's also a very emotionally led one, and
Mm.
we're all very aware of how when personal emotions come into things, it does make it that much more difficult to kind of take a step back, and look at it with more kind of distanced eyes. But perhaps there's just something to think about, because I think we are going to see over the coming months and probably years, I think when it comes to things like jab injuries and the damage that is causing, that is going to keep becoming more and more apparent, and obviously that's one of the biggest issues for many of us. So something to think about, I guess. It would be very interesting to hear kind of what your views are and where you're at on
Mm.
it. Any words of wisdom that anyone else has, we can all kind of help each other to kind of try and meet a better space within
Yeah,
ourselves and within our society, where there's a little bit more love
a
for
bit more
ourselves and each other.
compassion. I think talking about the jab injuries and all of that, I would not want to be one of those people that now has that burden of guilt, having coerced a loved one into getting it, or having a child, being responsible for them having had it, and things happening after that.
Yeah, it's a very
There's
important.
you can feel a bit of compassion, I think, for and just thank God I'm not in their shoes. So yeah, well, there we go. That went quite quickly for us anyway. Yeah. So we will catch up with you again soon, and yeah, have a great rest of the week and take care. Lots of love.
Lots of love to
Speak
everyone.
to you soon.
Take care of
Bye.
yourselves.
Bye.
Bye.